Another edition of Social Media News Live. Always have fun stuff before the show. Grace just decided to leave, go get a hamburger or something. I don't know. She get some more coffee.
I was just so offended.
I know, so rude. We haven't done this for a long time. So I wanted to, before we get started, we got to go live on Amazon. Let's go ahead and do that right now, Grace, because I think we got you fixed.
Yay!
So that sounded
bad.
I
got fixed.
You got your problems fixed. Hey, and there's our friend Gary Stockton. He says, "Good morning, you beautiful people." Huntington Beach, Gary. I'm kind of jealous. That sounds really nice right now. So hope you're doing well, my friend. He just is redoing his studio. I've been watching his Instagram things, and he's making me jealous because I want a new studio space. So before we get started, once again, folks, I wanted to give our friends at Shure a big shout out. Look at this. This is their new white Noir mic that they sent me for review purposes. I love it. It's the M7 in their white version. So if you have one of those sleek offices like Gary Stockton that looks really, really cool, you should get this mic because it's really, really cool. So it is actually a limited edition. So I think and they're only selling it on Amazon. So make sure if you're watching on Amazon, click down below in the bottom and you can check this mic out. Once again, it just sounds amazing. And now it looks amazing in their white version. So thanks to Shure for that. But Crystal Tosh is here with us. I am so excited. I saw her speak at Jessica Phillips Now Marketing Social Media Week Lima, and she impressed me so much, and I couldn't wait to get her to introduce you guys to her. So this is going to be a fun show. So
I'm excited.
So Gary says, I now officially have mic envy. Well, that's the whole point, Gary. That's why I do the show, is so I can make people jealous of my stuff. So, Grace, how are you doing today?
I'm back online. There was just that momentary of like, I guess Jeff's doing the show on his own today.
I'll do it by myself. Yeah.
Apparently, I live in a tornado or something. I don't know.
Yeah. You have better internet than me. I'm like, what happened? I thought your kids were unplugging stuff. So. I don't know.
I have terrible internet too. It's, rural America problems.
Yeah. Yeah. See, but Grace is like in smacking Dallas, right?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, but I'm in like north. I'm like closer to Oklahoma. So, like.
Oh, yeah. I'm in Kentucky.
I love how everyone is just like, oh, really? Oklahoma? No offense, anyone. No offense,
thanks,
anyone.
Grace. Now all our Oklahoma viewers.
Oklahoma listeners just got off.
Yeah.
If they can get online.
Yeah. Oh, Grace, come on. Stop.
Sorry.
Because I know we also go to Tailwind Show, and they're based in Oklahoma, so you're going to get us kicked off of that. So sorry, Tailwind.
I'm sorry.
Because Grace is rude. All right, so I'm going to hit the go on the podcast machine, and we're going to get started. You can already tell this is going to be one of those shows, folks. So
one of those shows.
One of those shows. And so let me go ahead and get started, and we will get going. Hello, folks. Welcome to Social Media News Live. I'm Jeff C., and you're not.
And I'm Grace Duffy, and this is the show that keeps you up to date on the world of social media. And today we have the awesome Crystal Tosh with us. So when Jeff first introduced Crystal to me, he was like, she grew this agency up to 6 figures by not really doing social media. She's kind of the anti-social media. And I was like, that's perfect for our social media show, Jeff.
Right.
But then I was intrigued because Jeff does not just recommend people lightly, right? He's like, so I started like digging into more of the things that you're writing about, your show, your podcast that we'll talk about in just a minute. And I was just so intrigued by your very unique perspective on social media, given the ups and downs those of us that work in social media face every day. And so I am super excited to talk to you about your unique perspective, your new approach. Crystal, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you. I'm excited my internet's working here in Kentucky because I'm in the middle of nowhere too. So this is good. We're on the right track today. And I'm so happy to be here. I loved Social Media Week Lima. I love Jessica. I love all of that. She and I both kind of share the same ideals about authenticity and marketing. So she's my kindred spirit. So
yeah. So and you killed it at Social Media Week Lima. So it was a lot of fun going there. So I want to give a shout out to our friend Chris Stone. Chris, my friend, watching over on LinkedIn. He goes, "Hello, authentic, good people." Well, we're authentic. I don't know if Grace isn't she's not always good, but for the show, she keeps it together. So
Just for this hour,
just for
this
this
1
hour.
hour,
Well,
I keep
after
it.
that,
I keep it together for this 1 hour. After this is complete mess.
That's right. After that, it's a crapshoot. So here we go. I want to introduce you guys to, if you don't know who Crystal is and miss Social Media Week Lima, which you should. You can already sign up for next year. Go to Lima and see us there. But if you don't know Crystal, I want to introduce you to her. She is the founder of Rockstar Social Media, a human-focused marketing agency that helps brands connect by harnessing the power of empathy. In fact, she runs several businesses and a nonprofit and does it all in ways that honor her own unique style and intuition. She is a self-proclaimed marketing rebel, which I think is so cool. She believes there is no such thing as a template or a cookie-cutter approach to marketing, and this is what we meant earlier when we said she's kind of anti-social media. There's not one-size-fits-all or exact strategies for success. Her goal is to unbox brands, allowing them to be who they are online and with confidence. So every business and brand is unique. Authenticity is every brand's superpower. And so I'm so excited to talk, because that all resonates with us, because we have seen the gurus who go, do it this way and you will make millions. And then, you're just like, don't think so. So anyway, Thanks, Crystal, for being on the show today.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, it's a little bit sometimes like a little bit strange to say things that fits all approach. And I think that's what stops people from growing, because they try some of those and they don't make millions of dollars, and then they quit or they think they're doing it wrong. So it's kind of sad to see business owners give up on themselves. And that's why I'm out here preaching the opposite, because why is it that online space people are like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million tomorrow. But if you build a brick and mortar, it's going to be 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Exactly. Well, I would love to hear how you got into social media marketing, and what was that tipping point that brought you to, because I read this in your bio that you reached that point. It was a podcast bio of that you reached this point where you're just like, oh, this isn't working. And I want to hear about that moment when you're like, oh, this isn't working, and what prompted you to launch your agency.
Well, it was kind of a long journey. I started my first business and it kind of came out of honest motherhood. And I had a Facebook group that grew exponentially when my kids were little. And so I kind of found organic marketing just by randomness of being a mom sharing her truth online. And I grew that into Honest Talk International, which became an online on-demand childbirth education course and lots of things for women, basically. And tragedy kind of struck. My mom got really sick out of nowhere and she passed away. And I sold that business to my business partner and took 6 months off. And I decided to start my agency right before the pandemic. So I'm a classically trained, I guess, if you will. I have a master's in public health. So during that difficult time, I just kind of got the job, right? Like I just went back to work and tried to get by, and I hated it. And I knew that there was something missing for business owners, and I knew I could help them. So I launched Rockstar in my hometown here in Kentucky, in Western Kentucky. And it started growing just organically and naturally. Honestly, I think I quit my job in February and the country shut down in March. So I went around and basically created a show like you guys have. And I started interviewing local businesses just to get their name out there and to try and just offer help. So I didn't make actual money for about 6 or 8 months. I just did what I knew how to do. And it paid off, though, because people remember who comes around and helps you in a hard time. And especially in Western Kentucky, where people didn't even know how to use Facebook. We took like restaurant menus and, took pictures and put them on Facebook so people could order, and just little things that I thought were insignificant, but ended up really helping. And then it just grew. It took off and word got around. And then now I have national brands that we represent, and we kind of went from just doing social media to now we're a full service marketing agency. So we do websites and, video content and Google ads and Facebook ads and all of it. So, yep.
That's awesome.
That's awesome, Crystal. Yeah.
So I just wanted to, and a lot of people don't talk about this, but the amount of time it took, I think everybody, if you really dig deep, you go and like, yeah, there was a time where I just really was, I did a lot of stuff for free and did it. And nobody wants to talk about that. And I think I remember making videos for like some influencers back on like Google Plus. There's my Google Plus reference for the day. But yes, I fit it in the show.
We need to make a bingo card for this game.
I know. But a drinking game or something. But anyway,
drinking game. It's 10 a.m., Jeff.
Well,
it's 5
I was on a
somewhere.
cruise a couple weeks ago, so it doesn't matter, The thing is that we would just, we don't talk about it, and everybody has to do that. Everybody has to put in the reps.
Yep.
Yes, I think that's what's missing in this online build a business space is the truth and the honesty. And that's kind of why I also launched a podcast called Pass the BS, which we'll get to later. But people need to hear that, yes, you're valuable and your skill set is amazing, but nobody knows who you are. So you've got to start somewhere. I mean, I literally started charging, my very first client paid me $450 for a month of done for you social media content. Okay. I'm not there anymore. I make my agency does a lot
Crystal.
more. I pay a team, but you have to start somewhere and you have to start building those relationships. And how else are you going to build the relationships and gain trust than to get out there? I think social media is word of mouth marketing on steroids. I still think you build businesses based on word of mouth, but it can travel faster and farther by using social. And that's what worked for me is I just got out there and started helping, and it grew and grew and grew. And, now I have a team and we do a lot more than where we started, but that's the truth of the matter is a lot of people don't want to talk about when you first start a business. It's not making $1 million overnight. It's literally like a snake oil salesman. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably not true. And more people need to hear that so that they don't think they're failing.
Mm-hmm. So the only thing that, so that's what I tell people. And Chris Stone, he goes, every show needs a Grace, which is very, very true. But you can't have her. She's contractually obligated to stay here. And then
obligated.
There's nothing. I don't know what I do. So Gary says, that's awesome, Crystal. Chris Stone at the Google Plus drinking game. It's happening. Well, maybe where you're at, Chris, not here. And then Gary is like, yes, I agree with all this. The thing, going back to the relationship part of stuff is so important. And that's why I love this live show, is because the thing is, it is all about relationships, but we have this platform where I can reach people all across the globe, and we do, and that's what's so cool. We've got, Brian usually shows up from the UK. Ian's from the UK, and then Brian's from Barcelona. So all these people come in. I just think it's so cool that you can do that now with this platform, but it does come back to relationships. I think that's really, really cool. So we kind of touched on your podcast, so I want you to talk just a little bit about your podcast, why you started it, and tell us a little bit more about it.
Gosh, actually, the idea for the podcast came on the 6-hour drive from Lima back home, because I found my people in Lima. I'll be honest. Everybody there was so value driven, really caring about other people, really caring about relationships, not so much buy my stuff, and it wasn't a pitch fest, which was beautiful to me. And it got me to thinking about, what could I do to spread the message more? And I ended up partnering with Amy Hartman. She also owns an agency, and she owns a real estate brokerage. She's built multiple businesses. She's a big earner, but we didn't want to talk about money and how to get rich quick. We wanted to expose kind of the lies of the online space and really kind of pull the curtain back and show people that this is still building businesses, and to save them from falling into the BS. Because you get totally caught up in the feed, reading all these successful people and they're in front of their Ferraris, and that's all great and fine. But if you're just starting out, you're like, what am I doing wrong? And you get so discouraged. So Pass the BS is a place where we expose everything. And we also think it's important to talk about the fact that building a business that isn't a coaching business looks different. So, building a sustainable business, and some of these people that, like to tout that they're making all this money, they forget to say how much their payroll is, or, how many people are working behind the scenes. And it's really easy to get lost and think that they're just this one person doing all the things, but they're not. So that's kind of the theme.
And the people who are being authentic and tell the truth is, they'll say, like, this was a struggle. I'm still doing it myself. I haven't got it all together. In fact, one of my friends, Lou Mangello, who I went with on the cruise, he does the WDW radio, one of the biggest podcasts out there. but
Yeah.
he's been doing it for almost 20 years, like when podcasting first started, and he still does it by himself. He'll offshoot stuff, but he still works. Like if you ask him what he does for a living, he goes, anything it takes. And so, I mean, that's what we have to do. So
Right. And I think that there are those, amazing people being honest out there. But there's also some that I feel like I've gotten caught up in. Grace asked me what was the big point that I was like, I'm going to do my own thing. It was after hiring some very expensive people who led me astray and made me think that this one cookie cutter way was going to solve all my problems. And what I ended up building was something I hated. Because it wasn't in alignment with me and it wasn't based on my values. And I think that that's where people get disconnected. It's what I said at Lima is, you get so caught up that you put on everybody else's mask, their solution, and you forget what you're really good at and what your genius is and how to let that out. And you get disconnected from your own knowing or intuition about why you even are doing this in the first place.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, I don't know where Grace went. Let me.
Oh no,
Grace
her
just
internet.
She just left. She probably got tired of me talking too much. Is what happens. Let me switch this over to your camera, and we can do this. So okay, cool. Until she comes back, and then who knows what'll happen. So I want to, and here she comes. Of course, after I fix things, let me get her back in here. I tell you what. So poor Grace. What a day. Grace, are you back?
I'm back.
Okay.
She's drinking after this.
That's right. She's got a real job.
Time,
Yeah.
All right. Sorry.
So okay, so let's go to this next section. And yeah, so Chris goes, love this. Treat it like a long game, and you can see the broken easy buttons on the side of the road later.
Yes.
That is great, Chris. Yeah.
That's so good, Chris. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And Chris has hustled. Now, Chris has really helped me. If there's one thing that I really have enjoyed about our relationship, he's really helped me with my Amazon Live stuff. Once again, it's not there's work involved, but it's been really, really lucrative because of the relationship that I was able to build with Chris, and he helps me. I help him. He calls me about Pinterest. I ask him questions about Amazon Live. So that stuff is worth its weight in gold, and we just don't talk about that enough. But I digress. Grace, let's go on to this next segment where I know you wanted to read some questions. If you can make it through segment.
If I can make it through emotionally, right?
Exactly.
Because again, I'm with you in spirit, just not digitally. Right. Okay. Yeah. So this first section, the magic is you. I really loved digging into everything that you have, your show and your posts and stuff. And I found this post of yours on LinkedIn that really resonated with me as a marketer, and I think it'll resonate with a lot of people in our audience. I'm going to just read it because it's very powerful. You said it was from a month ago. So if you follow Crystal on LinkedIn, you'll find this. You said, in 7 weeks, my client has gone from being completely disconnected from his own genius and work to aligned and confident. This is how you create magnetic marketing. It's not about being told, do this, do that. It's reconnecting with your own secret sauce. Side note, this client has spent $100K with gurus and felt lost and blocked, and now he's tapped back in and feeling confident. The secret and magical ingredient to magnetic marketing is you. You.
Yes.
Bold, right? Yep. And I just think that this idea of disconnected and feeling like from the genius and from your work, I do not know a single marketer who has expressed this either in private to me or through various Facebook posts, right? At some level, we all feel this way, or we're feeling this way, or have felt this way, right? So let's talk about your client's experience. And, we all feel drained from time to time. We all have bad days, but this is something deeper, I feel. So what did you do to help this particular client reconnect with their secret sauce in 7 weeks? And this is not a get rich quick in 7 weeks.
No.
But I want to emphasize the reconnecting.
Yeah. So yes, my client's amazing. He was so disconnected that he kept telling me, well, I don't know what everybody wants to hear, because we were trying to content plan, right? He was so disconnected from what he was putting out on social media that it really did sound like someone else. It was just him kind of following a formula. And He came to me because we've known each other we've been in programs together, and then we've watched each other on the sidelines. And he just said, I think you can really help me because you understand, people and how to connect them back. And I was okay. So in 7 weeks, what we did every week was literally go back to what he had created. So he sells a course, right? And I basically took him back through, like, you created this. Now, why did you create this? What did it do in your life? How has it changed you? What person were you before you created this course and now? Because he created it to help people based on his own experience, right? But he was so disconnected from his own work and his own experiences, even, that he couldn't tell the story online in a way that circled back to the transformation he was able to provide. So through working with me, now he can confidently talk about what it is that he does, what problem he solves, and how he transforms people's lives effortlessly without kind of thinking what was happening. As he even said, I would go to an event and people would ask me what I do, and I would try to think back to all the coaches and how I'm supposed to word it. And he was just fumbling through and really not making those connections. And the feedback he was getting is, yeah, it sounds really cool, but I just feel like you're holding something back. And it was because he was trying to be other people. So, connecting him back to, this is my work, this is my genius, this is how I make a difference. Now he just talks about it, and his content on Instagram and things like that is so much more relaxed and not forced, that he's drawing people in because they feel the connection. And so I just think it's important. And I think that, I said at Lima, and I stand by this, we hire coaches because we do need help, and we hire consultants and all those things. But what we need to do is realize we take what we need and leave the rest, because there still has to be room for our own genius in there.
Ooh, that's really good. Speaking of Zone of Genius, and I'm not one, but I want to talk about our sponsors, Ecamm, because I had forgotten. I got so involved in the conversation but I want to make sure that you guys go to socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm, because they are a bunch of geniuses. They put together this package and this thing we're using right now to go live. They're incredible. In fact, Grace and I are going to be at Podcast Movement next week, and actually Ecamm is going to be there as well. We are going to be broadcasting live from their booth. We'll be doing this show live on Friday from their booth at Podcast Movement. Got a lot of cool guests coming, and so make sure you guys come to that. And if you see us there, make sure you grab Grace, because she loves that. But don't touch me. But other than that, so make sure you guys give us a shout out at Podcast Movement. Go to and Ecamm has also started a brand new podcast called The Flow. So make sure you guys go to that on their podcast player. They're talking about how to actually create a video podcast, which is very, very cool. That's really popular right now. So make sure you guys go check that out. It's called The Flow. Look at your favorite podcast player and give them a rating and review, and give them a subscribe. That would really help them out. So Ecamm, socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. All right. So Crystal, you were talking about all this stuff and being authentic, and how, how important that is. But, I think everybody we know in marketing has got into it because they have a spark, they have curiosity, they have energy. There's no real, I guess, shortage of joy and creativity online. Folks are really want to do what they're passionate about. I mean, that's just the way we're wired. But based on your experience with clients, what gets in the way of people's true genius and creativity? You talked about your client before. Why do we get blocked? What happens? Is it we want to look like everybody else? What have you found that really kind of is a big stop for people?
They're overthinking it, and they're also kind of just trying to think about the client avatar. So I have a kind of a different approach to that. I feel like you've really got to know yourself first and be confident in sharing who you are before you worry about your client avatar. Because what I've found is all my clients are so worried about, well, I want them to think this instead of I feel XYZ. And it's just like anything. If you're your true self, and I know authenticity is kind of a buzzword, but I think so much of the blocks come from just not being confident and maybe not even really knowing what makes us tick and what makes us different. I mean, I have a mohawk. I wear black everything. Like, that's me. There's I wear Converse on stage, Most people would say that you should wear like dress clothes and some, cute pumps, but that's not me. And I'm okay with that. But it's really kind of uncovering all the shoulds and should nots and all the courses we've taken about the, template to success, and realizing that there is not a template. And until you're really confident in yourself and happy to be yourself and sharing your message with the world, that's when the magnet turns on, and you just start getting people kind of flowing your way and saying, yes, I feel that way too. I mean, it's why you and I connected at Lima. If I showed up as a fake person, as not really myself, number two, it's really hard to maintain a persona that's not yourself.
Right.
And it doesn't feel natural. And so it kind of repels people because they know something's off.
Going back to what you were saying, and we did this at Lima, a quick little thing where, because so many people are told to, and this goes back to what you were talking about, your client and how you kind of helped him kind of unblock, is to tell your story. And most people want, like, okay, you need to know your elevator pitch and and how, and the thing is, we're not attracted to elevator pitches. We're attracted to, like, oh, Crystal is on a farm and I grew up in Kansas. I don't know all about farming, all that kind of stuff. And so those kind of things, those stories that you can work in and attract people to you, that's what people want to hear. And I think what you were saying and how to do that, and even your presentation at Lima really dove into that. It's like, okay, how do we do that in a better way? Because, there's a right way to tell a story. And I think that's what it sounds like you were helping your client with.
Right. We don't want to create trauma bonds. There's a lot of that trauma bonding out there. Right. I feel like hear my horrible every detail of my sad story and connect on that. No, everybody has a struggle. We've all faced something, and you're so right, Jeff, about connecting on that personal level. I mean, you have to learn how to weave what makes you into what you do and share it naturally. I mean, I kind of say this too about social media, about sharing stories or connecting with people. Like, if you wouldn't say it in real life, like if you were in a room with people and talking, if it wasn't conversational, probably don't do it on social media either, because it's just awkward and weird. Yeah. Just be yourself and realize that social media is a conversation. A lot of people too get caught up in this, like, well, I'm the expert and I'm just going to produce all this expert content. But think about the bread aisle. It's all bread. Why do we choose a different bread over the other? Well, it's marketing. It's the labels, or it's the way it looks, or the way we've, our mom served it to us our whole life. Whatever it is, we're all marketers. We're all, service providers. We all kind of do some variation of the same. So the only reason why I would do business with somebody over somebody else is on a personal connection level, something that's made me feel like, oh, that person's more like me, or like you said, they are a farmer too, or we grew up in the same area, or we like the same things. But when you hold all that back, nobody knows, right? Like, I don't know what someone's about if they're just always talking about their two-step solution to $1 million.
So I want to give a shout out I want to give an example of that. So I know Gary, just from watching his stories, because he's a musician. He's got this incredible setup that we're able to, kind of geek out over. And so that came from social media. I wouldn't have known that if I wouldn't have followed Gary and his stories and seen that. So there's that connection there. And then we have Katerina says, so it's good to see her. I haven't seen her in a while. She goes, completely agree about trauma bonding. I had never heard that term before, but that is so true. And I loved what you said about not, if you're not going to say it out in the room, you probably shouldn't say it on social media. I hope Facebook is listening.
Right.
Jeez. So, anyway. So, Chris goes, yes, the difference between products and services is us.
Yeah.
He's so profound. So way to go, Chris.
And so succinct in the
I know.
Like, he's so succinct when he says that, because again, that brings back the, people work with people that they like and trust, right? And how do you build that like and trust? Not by trauma bonding, but by actually, like, sharing like things you have in common. And also I think you had this somewhere. I don't know if it was a post or something, Crystal, where it was just like, I'm not for everyone, or that idea of like, and that's okay, right? And my friend Kelly Maribel says that a lot too. Like, you're not for everyone. That's okay, and I think people have to be comfortable with that too.
It's hard. It's hard to be like, because I think we all suffer from people pleasing, and we want to be liked, right? But we have to realize that just because you're not liked by someone doesn't mean you're a bad person, because think of all the people who do love you. And that's been a growth journey for me as well. I think it's a journey for everybody when you start putting your stuff online. And you just have to realize, like, an unfollow or an unfriend or whatever, they saved you time. If they don't like what you're saying, they're never going to do business with you anyway. So just move on and just have your community of raving fans. That's what I say too. Like, I've created the business that I have based on a lot of people who don't actually do business with me, but they love me and they feel like they know me and they're connected to me and they recommend me. So, you can't always look at people as their dollar value, because it's more than that. It's about creating, raving fans and a community and people who just really believe in you and they support you in other ways. So, and I think that's missed in social media. I've had clients, I'll ask them, how much time do you spend responding to your comments? Oh, none. Well, it's a conversation. This is how people feel like you care about them too.
Right.
Like you can't just be the bullhorn that's always putting content out. You also have to interact.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
The social part of social media. So we've got some people saying, like, and it's unknown user. So it's probably, I don't know why it does it on this certain
I'm a
platform.
big Crystal fan. Okay, unknown user. Yay,
so you got an unknown user. They're just embarrassed to tell that.
Unknown user joins us every week. Unknown users are super fan.
So, but Trona says, and I always say her name right. She goes, I know Crystal through Mark Schaefer, and you talked about people knowing from people, and she goes, she's awesome. And I always butcher her name. It's Trona. Sorry, Trona.
It's true. Yes, I remember the uprising.
Yes. So, you had a question, Grace, that
I did. So bringing it back to this client that spent the $100K on gurus and feeling lost. There's so many experts out there, right? Experts and then quote unquote experts, and also like summits and conferences. And obviously we get a lot of value out of going to conferences. We've talked about Lima. We're going to Podcast Movement next week. And then of course, there's courses and all this stuff, but how do you know what you personally need next, right? Because it's really easy to just, maybe I'm just talking about myself, or you're just like, oh, I really need this. And then you go off and find that thing. But then that thing doesn't solve it. And then that thing. Right. So I can see where this client got to where they are having spent this much, but like, what do you know what you need right now?
I think it's about really kind of getting quiet and trusting yourself and really asking yourself, like, what is my block, instead of the shiny objects? Because, we're all great marketers online. There's some really great content out there that will convince you that whatever that person's selling is your next shiny solution. But I think you've got to kind of discern and learn to trust yourself. I think that personally, I have bought things that deep down I knew I probably didn't need, or they weren't going to solve my problem. But it seemed shiny and pretty and exciting. And then you get halfway through the course or the program and you're like, wow, it's the same thing I bought 3 other times. And so really encouraging people, to just connect back and then ask yourself, what am I willing to do? And what step do I need to take? Do I really need one more course on social media marketing? Or if I've probably gotten there and maybe I just need to be more open and vulnerable or whatever. I think a lot of this stuff is such like self-discovery work that is so much different than a tactic. Like, we can all learn a bazillion tactics, right? But if you're not confident in who you are and you're not willing to show up as you are, it doesn't matter how many tactics you learn. It's still, there's going to be something off.
That's a mic drop moment right there, folks. So that was good. That's a tweetable. And I will respond to the comments. But one of the things we talked about on the same note, and I'm a big fan of masterminds, but we did a show earlier this year where we explored the difference between like coaching, counseling, and masterminds with my friend Anthony Witt. And I think there's a lot of value in all of those avenues. But we've got phenomenal business coaches from everything from being more confident on camera, which is our friend Ian Anderson Gray, productivity experts like my friend Eric Fisher. Volley is launching a new product that makes paid masterminds asynchronous and accessible. So if you haven't been on Volley for a while, that cool stuff's rolling out.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, but without lumping like everyone into one category or generalizing,
right.
How do we know who to trust and what to believe?
That's really hard, I think, in the online
Yeah.
space because you almost have to start having some conversations in DMs or really, connecting to industry people. That's why I love going to, Lima
Mhm.
and different conferences, like you guys said, and really have conversations that aren't just happening in, reading someone's testimonials, but really, I think talking to people who've gone through them at different programs and seeing which one fits for you. Because I think the conversation that's being had behind closed doors is different than the one that's, public facing. And like, if someone isn't aligned to you, if you don't really love their content, they're probably not going to be for you. Their program's not. So don't force yourself just because you think they know more, because there's probably someone out there that maybe you just haven't discovered yet that is more in alignment with your core values, and things that you believe that can also help you get there. But I think it's just, that good old fashioned research and talking to people to figure out who's going to work best for you. And there's amazing people out there
Mhm.
coaching and consulting and teaching. There's a few bad apples. And once you discover them, you just know to steer clear.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So, one of the things that I think that, and it also takes time,
Yeah.
like the people who I trust and I ask opinions for or join their masterminds, it's people I've known for a long, long time. And I think,
Right.
and I see it at conferences too, as people come up and they kind of want to latch on, get all your secrets and be your instant friend. And that doesn't, I mean, I'll talk to anybody, but I can't like bare my soul to somebody I just met. It takes a long
Right.
time, and it's something that we connect. I mean, there's secrets that Grace doesn't even know about me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean,
There's things I don't want to know about
This-
Jeff. I've made
there's
that
a-
very clear.
this is probably as much as she wants to know, to be
This
honest.
is
But
there's an
this is
important
it.
part of
Yeah,
how you need boundaries. with people. Boundaries.
Yes.
That is very true. I think that everyone, no matter if you're just starting out or if you're, 10 years in, learning boundaries is an art. I mean,
Mhm.
it takes time to learn how to say no and not just keep pouring into people. Like Jeff said, meeting people at conferences. Of course, you want to develop these relationships, but you can't just pour everything out
Right.
the minute you meet them because you don't know. And it takes time. I mean, I've met people at conferences 3 years ago that now we've grown into great friends or we've been in masterminds together.
Right.
But it took time. So it's those connection calls, it's being on their show, them being on your show.
Mhm.
You just keep developing the connections with the people you feel drawn to. And then, you discover more about them. And if they're not who that you thought they were, you just move on.
Yeah, and it's give and take. I mean, it's
Yeah.
you just can't always take from people, and people can see that
Yeah.
coming from a mile away. So I'm
Right.
still waiting for my birthday present from Grace, but that's all right. So,
Uh,
but
I
that's
think
okay.
we're almost
Doing the show with
birthday
you every week,
twins.
not enough. Like,
I know. So let's go on to our next segment. We're going to be talking about authenticity. I can't even say it. Authenticity. See, I knew this was going to be a hard show. But we mentioned this at the top of the show, and you believe that there's no such thing as like a template or a cookie cutter approach to marketing. So I want to know from the audience, like what is your biggest pet peeve on social media? Like, what is it? Is it inauthentic people? Is it having to respond to your family who are crazy?
Right.
What
Your mom
is it?
saying you look great today.
Yeah. Hey, mom, thanks. So, but something that that's your biggest pet peeve on social media. Let us know down below wherever you're watching what that is. But one of the things they're not like they used to be on social media. So whether we're talking about paid or organic. This is true across the board. There's a lot of skepticism. People are clued in what, this webinar at the end, you're going to get a pitch. This is a lead magnet for me. This is why I'm doing it. So it's harder to convince people to show up, which means it's also harder to sell. But on the other side, brands are looking to provide value, but are burnt out doing things that aren't working. So, what's the next step for us to figure out like how to reach the right audience with our message?
I think just being honest, like people do know now that your challenge is going to end with a pitch.
Right.
So if you're just kind of honest at the beginning and say, like we're going to go through all this amazing content, you're going to get X, Y, Z value. But of course, to really have a transformation, I'm going to make an offer to you at the end. And if it makes sense to you, say yes. And I think that people are just tired of being like the pushy bro, I call it bro marketing of just like sell, sell, sell.
Right.
People are burnt out. Like, I believe that people are smart humans, and that if they feel like they need what I have to offer, I don't have to convince them. Because what I've learned building businesses is that if you have to pound a client to say yes, it's going to unwind later. Either you're not going to like working with them, they're not going to like working with you, they're going to take their payment off auto pay, something will happen. But if you get those like hell yeses, and excuse me, but if you get those like, yes, I want to work with you, this makes so much sense, those relationships pay off in the end. They always seem to work out. The client gets an amazing transformation. And you get to go on and have a great relationship even after the sale, so to speak. But I do think that people are just really over the kind of like hiding from, you're trying to sell me. It just seems to be better, I think, in my case and my clients, is if you're just honest. Like, I have this thing, it'll probably help you. Here's all the value I can give you without you paying anything, but here's the thing that I have to offer.
Right.
I also believe personally, I know there's been this huge, high ticket coaching, high ticket. I think that there's room for different things, because everybody's on a journey and some people just aren't there yet. So, there's two sides to every coin, but I think trying to have something that helps other people in different aspects. I mean, it's very much why we started a podcast and a club. And then I have an agency that does done for you stuff. And I'm also a consultant. So no matter kind of where you are on the journey, I have a way to help you.
So I that resonates with me, because some people just can't afford it. Like, and sometimes they're limited. Like, I live here, I can only make this much money from local clients just because of where I am. I can't afford your gazillion-dollar course, but having those different tiers, I think, is really, really important. So,
exactly. That's definitely something I learned living in, Western Kentucky. I moved back here from Seattle. I went to college in Las Vegas. Very different economies, very different things that can be offered, different. But everybody here is pretty much making the same amount of money. And even if you open a business, marketing is not the same marketing that I would advise someone in Seattle to use that I would in Western Kentucky. And so I want to be accessible to those people. And my Done For You agency serves a lot of national brands now, even though I started in a local market. But my consultancy of being able to go out and sit down with these business owners is more for my local community. And I live in this community. I am invested. I want this community to grow. So to me, to just be like, oh, I'm $15,000 to talk to me, that's not me investing in my local community. And I want to help these business owners. So I have to be different.
Awesome. Yeah. That's cool.
I love that. Well, so much marketing expert content, speaking of like reaching the masses, right? And outside of it, I find so much of it is copy paste. Now, I'm going to take this as an example. Like, you hear that your company needs a company blog to help with your SEO, but you don't have time to write, right? Mm-hmm. You launch one anyway, and you fill it up with how-tos and step-by-steps and that you've crowdsourced and found online. Or maybe you have an AI churning this out, which there's a lot of wonderful AI tools. I'm not taking on AI tools,
right?
But but it saves you time, right? But then you'd rather be putting towards your business. You'd rather be putting towards your local community or anything else. And it's easy. It looks easy to see how someone could fall into this cycle, especially if you're not the business owner, but you've got someone saying like, we need to scale, we need to do that, right? Yep. So what is your approach, given your approach to social media, I should say, help us break out of this cycle, this feeling of like in that moment of like, oh, I know I need to do this, and this is what I need to do. But and I saw this too, creating content, like, I've created content for a lot of brands, and it's like, oh, well, I just Googled it and I just researched all this stuff. And then what you end up with is like the same post that someone else,
that everybody else has.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Those content calendars and all those things that people buy, it's so copy paste. So I like to say that I create content prompts for clients that are more about their brand. So they have to kind of think through. They are not copy paste. They have to use the question and the prompt to think through and then add their own story. And everybody's outcome and post is going to actually be different. Maybe there is a bit of a quote framework to get them thinking through how to share in a different way. I also kind of believe that there's pillars to social media. There's like empowerment, education, entertainment, and then, what I call rants, raves, or poke the bear posts. So
Right.
whatever makes you different. A lot of people won't do that. They won't say, like, I don't agree with, the industry standard. And that's kind of what makes you different. And I know that people internally have these, I don't believe XYZ, even though everybody else is doing it. And that's what I feel like really brings people to you, because when you start sharing that, people are like, oh, I feel that way too. Even though it may be what the most people feel is the right way to do the thing, there's obviously always two sides to every story, and there's different feelings. I'm a big fan of Mark Schaefer. He's already been brought up on here. He wrote Marketing Rebellion, and that was the book that did it for me. That was like something I held in my head about marketing before I really knew. And I think it's just a background in social psychology and understanding people. And when I read Marketing Rebellion, I was like, yes, the most human company, the most human brand, you being yourself is what really makes marketing click. And it gets people to want to work with you. So I think to be different, you have to stop doing what everybody else is doing and do it in your own way. Put your own spin on it. Put your own flair, little Bobby Flay there, a little bam, and just, get something that's you.
You're an in for the next show because you mentioned Bobby Flay and food and Mark Schaefer. So we've had Mark. Yeah, we've had Mark on a couple times. He's amazing. He is one of those people who is very authentic when it comes to his social media. And,
Mark food on your bingo card, people.
Yeah, food
if you're drinking
and Mark
We've
Schaefer
food.
and Google.
We've reached the food part of the portion of the show.
We've circled.
That's right. Look. Yeah, bingo. So Gary says, I've met some great people through social media. That is very, very true. I met people like Gary. He's amazing. And Trona says, yes, love that approach. Adding different services for all prices too. And then we have Sean says, I love you, Grace. Didn't mention us, Crystal, but
darn.
We'll
great.
try
next time.
I know, it's like
Sean lead support at Restream is actually bringing this to the world. So I love you too, Sean.
So, but something else we love, and I got to give another shout out to our friends over at Ecamm. We're talking about being authentic, and Grace and I love live video. We have for a long time, and one of the things that allows us to go out to people in this way is Ecamm. It lets us do a podcast. Let's just go out and share stuff with the world, and it's just a great program. And so if you want to take a step and maybe do your own show or even up your presentations or whatever, you need to check out Ecamm. You can find out more about them at socialmedianewslive.com/Ecamm. So our final segment is we've been talking about being authentic, but great, and my kids do this, and so I want Grace to talk about this this new app that all the kids are using.
Well, we are a news show, so we thought we'd bring you just a little bit of news.
That'd be good.
Yeah. We do this every once in a while, right? So there's this new app out there billing itself as the anti-TikTok, anti-Instagram, and it's called Be Real. Be Real. And an alert goes off once a day, giving you a 2-minute window to post whatever it is that you're doing in that moment. And I believe it's random. It's just a random alert. And it's, if used as designed, you're forced to post what you're doing at that moment, when it goes off, and then you only have to look at it once a day because people are only posting once a day. And it's more authentic, supposedly, than other platforms where you can carefully stage your photos and add those flattering filters. It's just what you're doing. And everyone posts simultaneously, so there's not that pressure to constantly scroll or constantly check. Well, maybe you're still scrolling, but you're not constantly checking. So I first heard about this in January, and it quickly became another way to post content. People were taking that whatever you're doing there and posting it everywhere else, which defeats the purpose, I think.
Right.
But so Mashable wrote this article on it where they said, Be Real has proven that there's no authenticity on social media,
right?
Which I thought was hilarious. And we bring this up because, one, again, we're a news show. We need to bring you some news. And then also authenticity. I mean, it's the same. It's the same thing. Is every brand superpower. That is something that you believe in. And over the past few years, we've seen a shift to less less being, the highlights of our lives and more of the being real. And, I think that's thanks to mobile video and also being trapped in our homes for some period of
Right.
time, depending
Right.
on where you were in the country, I must say. And Be Real was a response to this, obviously. So talk to us about what it means to be authentic online in 2022. Is it just looking or not looking a certain way? Is it just removing filters and just posting once a day? Like, tell us, what does it mean to be authentic on social media?
Well, I mean, again, don't trauma bond and don't, you don't have to overshare and say everything. But I do think people are looking for vulnerability and to be seen. As humans, we all want to be seen. We all want to be heard. We all want to feel connected. And you can't connect to the perfect Instagram picture with the coordinated. I remember being a twin mom. I had 3 kids, 3 and under, and then an older daughter too. So that was 4 kids. And I would get on the Instagram and it was so curated and it was such BS. And I was like,
Right.
what the heck? I cannot compete. Like, it made me hate my life, really, because I thought, man, I'm failing. I'm not matching my 3 girls, with a coordinated little boy outfit. And we look disheveled when we go to Target. Like, we're just happy to be there. And so all this pressure was really hard for me. And if I had just found some real connections online, or like a mom, kind of, that's why I showed up as I did, to say, like, yeah, some days we have it together and some days we look like we're homeless. It's just what we do. We're real. And that's how it grew. That's how my online following grew. And so I know it works. People want to know that their life is okay, and not just have the highlight reel. And, so there's ways to share but not make it, over the top, where you're just kind of like talking about all the things that are wrong. But I think it's more like saying, hey, I'm here too. I mean, I suffer from ADHD. And so being open and honest about that has really opened a lot of doors for me online as an entrepreneur, and being like, kind of poking fun at myself because I have a hard time keeping on track, or I lose things. And, just being really honest, like, look, I'm successful, but I'm also struggling with XYZ. And so that means that if I can be successful, so can you with whatever you're battling. And I think that's what really people want to hear, is that, they can too, that whatever they're facing isn't just going to be a roadblock completely for them. Because when you set, people that follow all of us, and I remember being there, I put all these people on a pedestal and I thought they never had a problem in their life. And then the ones I really connected to were the ones that started saying, yeah, but I also have this going on or that going on. So I think filters are dying too. I know you brought that up. I'm here today, fresh faced, without makeup. I think it's just about being comfortable in your own skin, and realizing that when you turn your phone on to take a selfie, half the time you have a double chin. So it's okay. So does everybody else. We all have to hold the phone up here to get the perfect angle. And, nobody looks like that. I think my biggest thing that I'm loving right now is there's some, fitness people and model types on Instagram showing how contorted you have to pose yourself to get those perfect Instagram pictures, and what it actually looks like when you're just like a normal person taking a picture. No wonder you don't like the picture of yourself, because the model has to be like turned, and this hand has to be here and their head has to be turned this way, so it's just all fake, and people are over it, I really feel like.
So grow a beard and you don't have problems with that double chin thing. That's the secret sauce. That's why I did it. Now, if I just I'm trying to get it to cover my whole body.
I hold the phone down below because I like to look taller.
Right. Oh, see, we've all got our little.
We all have our things, right? So anyway.
So I wanted to. You said something there, and I think it was almost the secret sauce about being authentic is that, you're showing that you have issues, but then you have a solution. So you're showing you have a problem, like, I struggle with ADHD, but I have done this, and you can too. So I think you're being authentic and transparent, saying, hey, this is what I struggle with, but I found this hack that does this. And so I think that's, I think that's really super important. My kids are doing this Be Real. They were, before Mashable even knew about it, they were all on it, and they love doing it. And they have, it shows both the front facing and the rear camera at the same time, I believe. I don't do it because it'd be just me sitting at my computer all day. So
I'm not exciting for Be Real.
Not very good.
It's like
Maybe
like,
my
would
cows.
you like to? Your
I
cows
can-
could be exciting. Maybe we do
They
a Be
could be
Real with the
exciting.
cows.
There's a lady I follow on TikTok who she's hilarious, but it's called like some Almost Farm or something. But she has this ostrich that tries to attack her every day.
I've seen that one.
She's hilarious. And
Yes.
you should do that. I'm telling you, get a killer ostrich and you'll be famous.
Well, like I said, my horses are TikTok famous because we
Oh.
rescue horses. So my
Oh.
husband and my horses, they do really well on TikTok.
Yeah.
Sometimes you just got to see what you're working with. You know, a guy in a cowboy hat with a horse does really well. So
Well, and your husband does, and this is what you said at Lima, is like he looks like a Viking warrior. He does.
He does.
I look like somebody you need to drop change in front of their.
No.
But anyway, so Trona says Instagram is already a copy and Be Real. Yeah, we saw that coming. Anything that's successful, they will copy. So
yes,
anyway.
Instagram doesn't have an original thought.
Yeah, right. So last question is, and we've talked about this a little bit, but sometimes authenticity gets confused with attention seeking. I learned a new word, trauma bonding, today, but it distracts from the message a lot of times. So we've got a lot of people who are bearing their souls in social media. It takes a lot of vulnerability, and a lot of people aren't comfortable with that. So that is something we've talked about too. So what is the right balance? We've hinted on it. We've talked about it a little bit, but what's the right balance between sharing and oversharing as a brand or someone who's representing a brand? Because that's the first thing people check is your social media when you go do a job. They're going to see that, okay, this person overshares quite a bit. Do we want to hire them? Yeah. So do you think, what are your thoughts on this? Like, where's the balance of like, do I share that, with my audience? Will it come back to bite me? What are your thoughts on, I guess, what's your filter or your line that you don't go over?
So I always say this: you share from the solution or the transformation, but not the wound. So if you haven't healed from whatever it is, you probably shouldn't be sharing about it because you're still working through it. But if you've gotten to the other side, like me battling ADHD, being a mom who's raising twins, I went through a bitter divorce, sort of those things, but I've come out the other side and I can offer a solution or a hack or some help or inspiration. I feel like that's okay to share. But while you're in the middle of whatever it is, maybe if you're going through a bitter divorce, it might not be the best thing to share every little detail of what's going on, because that's not going to help anybody. And I always try to look at it as like, how am I helping someone else, or how can this impact someone else in a positive way? Because I don't want people to follow me or be bonded to me or whatever because they feel sorry for me or they think, oh, that poor girl. So you've just really, I think, I just think it goes back to that. If you've come out the other side and you can offer some value, then it's okay to share, but you just don't share from the wound. So if it's not healed, don't share.
That's good advice.
I have a sense that, like you mentioned a bitter divorce, that you tend to, when you're posting about the bitterness, right, or when you're in the middle of the bitterness, it tends to attract other people, and then now you've got to,
a bunch of bitter people together. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, I didn't want to put it that way. Thank you, Jeff. Yes, but that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Well,
Jeff completes my sentences.
And East Texas, we call it like two ticks sucking on each other. They just get on there and it's like you're all.
They just.
Yeah,
they're just like sharing all this, oversharing almost. And we've all been through it, right? Like if we really dug into my story, I have a pretty unique story. I've faced a lot of things, but I just weave that through the lessons I learned through that journey and how can it help someone else. And, sharing not the good parts, but the hacks or the things that help me survive through some of those things is why people end up in my DMs and they remember something I've shared before. And they're like, I'm here now. What is the advice you would give me or whatever? And, those people just remember maybe something that I faced with the divorce or something that I faced with starting this business or during the pandemic or whatever it is. But yeah, definitely you don't want to just create people who are like, oh yeah, me too. Oh, my ex-husband, blah, blah, blah. That's not solving anything.
Well, I mean, do seek the help that you need. But
Right.
I have friends that I will literally just text teenagers and they write back, I know, right? And that's all I need. That's all we need.
I see you.
Yeah.
I see you.
I know see what's happening. I see you down the street fighting with your kid.
Right. If you hear me screaming at my children in the house, just mind your business.
I have a friend in the neighborhood where I'm just like, if I'm on the HOA board, I need you to defend my honor. This is what happened.
Right.
Having an
that's
advocate.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having an advocate and feeling like you have people who see you, hear you, get you. And that's totally fine. But I think where it goes really awry is especially in like Facebook groups. I mean, have you ever seen some of the stuff that starts going on? And it's just, it gets a little out of hand. And it's like, what is it really doing? You're just, it's a vent fest and it's not really solving anything.
So I'm a big Disney fan, and so I'm in some of those things. And you want to set the internet on fire, change something at Disney, like raise a price or take something off a menu. Oh my gosh. It's just bizarre. And so, anyway, but we are out of time. We are full up at the hour. And Crystal, this has been amazing. We got to have you on again because this was a lot of value information. But before we go, where can people find out all about Crystal Tosh and your services?
Oh my gosh. Okay. So don't find me on Twitter. I'll make a joke. I think I'm up to 18 followers. So I'm usually a Facebook girl. You can find me Crystal Tosh. My rockstarpackages.social, that's for my agency. But if you really want to connect more, Past the BS is our podcast. But yeah, just add me on Facebook, Instagram. I'm No BS Crystal. So you can find me there. Lots of truth talk and pictures of cows and horses tend to be on my Instagram. So, and cute husband. So TikTok, I'm Ever After Acres, Kentucky. That's the name of our nonprofit, and my horses are on there, and it's mostly animals. So I'm all the places. Just feel free to find me, and you can always listen online to Past the BS. We're on Apple and Spotify and all the things. And apparently we should be doing a live show while also podcasting.
You should be. Idea. And we will talk about that later. But
how many horses
how many horses do you have rescued?
4.
Very cool.
Yeah, we've got a big Amish draft horse who's looks like a big unicorn. He's giant. He's like 19 hands. Yeah. Wow. And so we rescue those guys. They go to slaughter. People don't realize that. So it's kind of sad. When people don't want them, they end up going to Mexico or Canada. So we try to raise money and save them, and
that's awesome.
Do a little part. I mean, there's obviously thousands that need homes,
but every horse saved helps. So thank you for doing that. Grace Duffy, the amazing Grace. Where can we find out more about you and where you're at?
Well, you can find me here every week, Friday morning at 10 a.m., 11 a.m. Eastern, right here on the show. We're also a podcast. I am at Volley the rest of the time, so you can find us. Do we have our...
we always have it. Look at that. Boom.
Yes. Social media news live.com/chat. Join our Volley group. That's where you can talk to me and Jeff. You can comment, talk to us about the show. We used to do the pre-show thing, but we should get back.
We got
that.
lazy.
Anyway,
we got lazy.
Yeah,
it was my fault.
We're Oh, and you can find us at Podcast Movement next week. And I want to get this out of the way. I'm short. Okay, let's just get it out there right now. And I'm going to give you a week to digest that information. Okay, so when you see me, we can move on.
That's right. You're so short. I'm always shocked. I know her, and I'm shocked every time I see her. Anyway, so next week's going to be a special show. We're going to start at the same time. It's probably going to go longer, but we're going to have some amazing guests. We're going to have Lou Mongello for sure. Colin Gray is an incredible podcaster. Eric Fisher, a bunch of other people at the conference. I think we're getting somebody from Descript to actually come and talk with us. So it's going to be a special show. So make sure you guys put that on your calendar. I'll probably schedule that today so we can get that out as soon as possible. But thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate Trona and Sean and Gary, as always, Dave, all the people who've been watching us on all the different platforms. We could not do the show without you. Thank you so much for watching today. Make sure that we are a podcast. Make sure you give us a rating and review and subscribe to us on all your favorite podcast players. And with that, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Flow by Ecamm, the show where we dive into the workflows you need to launch, produce, and promote your video podcast. I'm Katie Fox.
And I'm Doc Brock, the community manager here at Ecamm.
And we're here to help you find your flow.
Guys, this is going to be a cool show that we're putting together to help you launch your podcast.
If words like editing really freak you out, you're in the right place, because we're going to talk about how it can be much, much easier than what you have likely in your head.
We want to give you an opportunity to get with the flow. You see what I did there? Get with the flow. I think this is going to be fun. We do get a lot of questions from the community about launching podcasts or running podcasts with Ecamm, and thought it'd be a great idea to give you the workflow, like how to do your podcast. And I asked Katie to come along. First of all, make sure you lock this down. Make sure you put this in your podcast, subscribe, so you can get to us as we put these out.
And you will catch us Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, and obviously wherever your favorite podcasts, including us, are listened to.
Come and visit us for the flow. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you, Doc. And we'll be in your ears soon.